Good afternoon, everyone. I, Kajall Sagar, Ehsaas Woman of Dubai of Prabha Ketan Foundation. I'm delighted to welcome you an exclusive session of Right Circle initiated by Prabha Ketan Foundation. It is a privilege to have our author Jyotsna Mohan grace this edition of the Right Circle with her presence. We are all excited to hear from her. Before that, let me take a moment to share a few words about the Prabha Ketan Foundation. Prabha Ketan Foundation is a non-profit organization based in Kolkata dedicated to promoting literature, performing arts, education, gender equality, and women empowerment. With a deep-rooted commitment to culture enrichment, the foundation curates a dry range of initiative that brings together voice from across the artistic and literary spectrum. From engaging author, meetups and prestigious book launch to thought-provoking panel discussion and literary festivals that welcome both emerging and established writers. The foundation fosters our thriving literary landscape before literature. It celebrates artistic expression through boutique festivals and captivating performance by singer, dancer, and theatre artistic. Through this initiative, Prabha Ketan Foundation continues to preserve culture, heritage, spark meaningful conversation, and create space where creativity and expression flourish. The reach of the foundation activities has spread far and wide from India, shows to overseas. More than 60 cities are under the ambit of its global network. Now, now it's my utmost pleasure to introduce our guest, author Jyotsna Mohan. Jyotsna Mohan is a journalist with nearly 3 decades of experience across TV, print, and digital media. She has always sought to hold up a mirror to society. Her journey led her to pen her debut book, Stone, Shame, and Depressed, an Amazon bestseller that dives deep into the secret lives of India. Teens and rebels challenge that resonate with the young people globally, a cumulus for publication in India and abroad. Her writing reflects societal issues and challenges utmost, which she says is her family legacy. Today she is here to discuss her latest book, Pratap, the Defied newspaper, co-author with her father. Born in Jalandhar, Jyotsna now lives with her husband and 2 children in Abu Dhabi. Today, our conversation is with Madiha Saidi, the Ehsaas Woman of Dubai of the Prabha Ketan Foundation. So, without taking much of your time, I will give the floor to both of you. All yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We all have gathered here to listen to one of the most profound journalists of our times, Ms. Jyotsna Mohan. She has recently written one more book with her father, Mr. Chanda Mohan, called Pratap, a defiant newspaper. It is a story of a newspaper which was published in the pre-independence era of India and has a very interesting journey of 100 years, which we are all going to learn about by the lady herself, Ms. Jyotsna.
Listen to me today. Prabha Ketan has been wonderful in supporting me and helping women like me spread our work and spread our voice. Madiha introduced me as a profound journalist. If my mom was here, she'd be holding her head because all she says every day to me is lower your volume, lower your voice. But yes, that legacy is difficult to let go of, a big reason why we've written this book. I have been very cognizant of the history that I've been surrounded with within my family for a very, very long time. Unfortunately, sometimes time runs out and I was still in college when my grandfather passed away. So there is a lot that I still didn't learn. I wish I had. But you're younger and you don't pay attention to all these things. My grandfather was a revolutionary. He was a peer of Bhagat Singh. in jail with Bhagat Singh the day Bhagat Singh was hanged. He was a newspaper journalist, a fiery newspaper journalist, as was his father, and somebody who didn't bow down to the British first, to the emergency of Indira Gandhi later, and eventually the terrorism in Punjab. So I've been trying to convince my father. This book could have been written earlier. The reason that it took us time was because I had to convince my parents for us to write the book. And the reason for that was how we began the book. We began with, I'm not sure if many of you know about the phase of terrorism in Punjab. And that's where the story kind of unfolds, because both my parents actually, even my mom, said that, look, I don't want to get into an era that caused us a lot of pain, and let's stay out of the spotlight. And my father kept saying, look, I'm either going to write the whole story or I'm not going to write anything. He's a journalist, so that's how we work. So it took me a while to convince them. What had happened in 1983 was that a bomb was sent to my grandfather. It was a parcel bomb, and my father tried to open it. It was sealed in such a hard way that my dad couldn't open it. He used to open the post. So he called the peon and he said, just open it. My dad was writing, and he thought that this was one of those typical dispatches that were coming those days for media houses. The peon tried to open it. He couldn't because the nails were really jammed. So my father said, just pick this up and take it to the other room. I'm working, I'm writing, so it's disturbing me. Open it and bring it back. 30 seconds later, there was a big blast and 2 men died instantly. So this is something the family has never been able to live down, because on their watch, 2 young men died, leaving 2 widows and 2 very young children. So this is why it took us a long time to write this book, to convince my parents. And I think the rest was easy, because wo ghar mein hi pada tha sab kuch. So, you don't have to research as much because there's so much that you already knew. And I did think that in an era where history is being tweaked and where you really don't know where knowledge is coming from, when you have a first-hand account, why ever not? Nobody can debate with this story.
So, the book details Pratap's launch in 1990 by your great grandfather, right? Mahashay Krishan, just before the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. And we all know about Jallianwala Bagh. It's such a sad part of our Indian history. So do you think this historical moment shaped the newspaper's early role in India's freedom struggle? Was the newspaper ever a voice of the freedom fighters? What's your take on it?
It was only the voice for freedom. It was launched just about, I think, 12 days before the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. It was immediately shut down by the British. It was not allowed to publish the day after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. It was penalized constantly by the British. It was defended by Jawaharlal Nehru. So this was its trajectory through and through. My grandfather chose to take a long detour before coming back to the newspaper. And so while his father was this fearless journalist who launched this Urdu newspaper, which was sold out, it was suspended for a year immediately after. When it came back, it was sold out the very first day. So this was how it was. We got letters from, as varied as Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan reading it up there, up in a part which is now in Pakistan. So there are many, many people everybody, in fact, the books, I should actually read this. The endorsement, there's only one endorsement in the book, and I wanted only the one endorsement, which we were fortunate enough to get it. It's from Gulzar Sahab. I remember the Urdu newspaper, Pratap, with great nostalgia. I was very young at the time. The elders would gather in Delhi's Roshanara Bagh every morning and discuss the headlines in great detail. Pratap was like a freedom flag in the battle for independence. It was respected like the conscience of India. So I think this is what the newspaper stood for. And my grandfather chose a different path for a while. At the age of 16, he dived deep into the freedom struggle and became a part of the revolutionary group. And so there are two corresponding stories in this. One is the lens of historical events through the lens of the newspaper that refused to bow down, and secondly, the story of my grandfather.
What was the language of the paper? I think, yeah, it was an Urdu newspaper. And it had a counterpart also, I think, Hindi.
Hindi later, after independence in 19... after independence, when the newspaper had to move from Lahore, a lot of the Urdu newspapers moved to Jalandhar in Punjab. It became a hub actually of the media, and it is said that it had a huge circulation before independence, but once it started again, it had an even bigger circulation. And after that, then they launched a Hindi newspaper, which was under attack later on.
Great. So while I was reading about the history of Pratap, I learned that it faced several challenges. Like you just said, the parcel bomb. I also heard that there were shutdowns, arrests, and the parcel bomb in 1983. So we want to know, did you witness all of it, and your take on it? Yeah.
So I remember militancy. I remember everything else. Was I was too young. I was barely there during the emergency. And I was very young during terrorism. But I think it's a misnomer to think that बच्चों को कुछ याद नहीं रहता, बच्चों को कुछ पता नहीं है. I think the younger you are, the more you internalize things, and you don't have an outlet for it. So a lot of some psychologists have asked me, do you think that there's been any kind of a hangover for you having lived that? And there is anxiety, and I'm possibly the lightest sleeper after my father, because we were scared of the shadows, and there were people in those shadows. So I remember it very, very clearly. I remember that we were actually, I had started to like cricket, and it was the World Cup final the next day when the blast happened. So I was actually in Delhi hoping to sit down, watch the 1983 cricket final when this happened. So I clearly remember many, many things of a terrorist trying to enter our house. He tried to enter it through a window. And we had really high security, but one guy had infiltrated the security, and he tried to enter, my sister in my room, till my father kind of figured out, came running. So, and then there was another instance of my grandfather's car. There were many instances actually of his car being chased. My grandfather always said that, I never bowed down to the British, I'm not going to bow down to them. So he would, just let go of all security measures. And as a result, there were many chases, literally like those thriller chases, till he entered the gate and the gate shut down.
You just witnessed all of it?
I witnessed all of it. I was taken off school. We were taken off school. I was off school for almost a year because the family was eventually on the hit list, and we were on the kidnapping list.
Because of the newspaper, you were on the hit list?
Yeah, and the family.
Oh, okay. So, you have a family legacy of journalism, and you are the first woman journalist from your family. You think things are different being a woman?
I was fortunate enough to begin, spend the primary part of my journalism in NDTV, of an NDTV that no longer exists. But that NDTV was actually the golden era of journalism. We were 95% women in that organization. It was literally like a handful of men here and there. The men you saw on TV were the only men in that office. It was run by women. It was handled by women. It was run by Prannoy Roy's wife, actually. She was everything behind the scenes. And I was very, very fortunate. I don't think we ever felt that we could do something. And I was encouraged by my grandfather. My grandfather said one thing to me when I was in college. He said, if you want to get into this business, you need to read and read. And I'm going to send you 500 rupees every month. With the caveat that you are only going to use this to read newspapers. So I have grown up in a family where you read like 15 newspapers, nobody speaks to anybody Still, all the newspapers have been read, but everything has changed. My daughters don't read it. I try very hard to cover Pardo, but they are reading it from Instagram. So it's what do you do?
That's true. So you have worked with a very big media house, NDTV, and now you have shifted to writing books. And I think you also run a channel on YouTube. Yes, it's called Talk with Joe. So what motivated you to shift from NDTV to writing books? And how do you find the process different from reporting?
So when I was a reporter, I was reporting on crime and courts, and there was a lot of running around because you were getting threatened. You're a girl at the end of the day. I had to change my phone number. I was taken off the Jessica Lal case because there were threats to me by the people. I was taken off the Opahar fire case because of threats from the big businessmen. So all those things, it was like, if you're an adrenaline junkie, that was the place to be. The reason I actually, it wasn't intentional. I had to take a little bit of a sabbatical because of my girls. My husband travels quite a bit. And then NDTV was no longer NDTV. And so when I was going to go back to NDTV, it wasn't something I would want to go back to. All of us have pretty much left. And there is no news organization as legacy media that we call that I would like to be associated with at the moment. Unfortunately, I think the reality is that for our time, television news or journalism as we know it is over. And so I think the rules of the game have changed, and if you don't evolve, then you just have to sit. So you've just got to keep thinking, how do you move ahead? Because there's just still so much to give. And you do the best you can in a situation. So, writing happened along the side. Actually, my first article was written when I was 17. I had all intentions of being a print. Yeah, because, I'm a fourth generation, so 3 generations of newspaper men. I thought I was just going to be one of them. And at 17, when terrorism was happening, I was so done up that I took a paper and I just wrote all my thoughts without telling anybody, without printing it. I just sent it to a newspaper editor. I forgot about it. It was like cathartic. And I forgot about it. My grandfather came running one day and saying, "This is you. This is it." So I thought I was going to go there. But then television news happened, and as any young person will tell you, you choose glamour. You choose easy money, you choose more money at that age. So that's what I did. I say that it's been a long detour for almost 25 years, and I've just come back to what I started with.
Wow. Very interesting, very interesting. So Pratap covered historic moments like partition, the emergency, independence, Operation Blue Star. Which of these events do you believe best illustrates the newspaper's unwavering commitment to fearless journalism? Any incident in particular comes to your mind?
I think through and through, I think the words of my grandfather, actually, both my great-grandfather always said that newspaper editors are not vendors. We're not here to sell news. Our job is to give out the news and then to speak truth to power. And I think everybody in the family has always stuck to that mantra. It's not easy because you pay a price for it. They paid a price for it even during the emergency because they refused to take out an editorial. They had 9 pages. Again, there was the threat of being arrested. And then you pay a price because everybody else around you has given up. And, at that time, an opinion page on an editorial was very important. Unlike today, newspapers now are, even if you look at the Gulf News, and I was with the Gulf News for 4 years as a columnist until recently, the opinion pages are going, Khalid Times, the opinion pages are going. Everything has changed. It's not important anymore. So the way news is being consumed in itself is so different. Having said that, I think, I don't know, I mean, every step of the way there's been resistance and defiance. Sometimes, as my father says, it was a bit too foolhardy and we should have kept quiet, but I don't think they knew how to. And I think it's reflected in the book, the very fact that, Jawaharlal Nehru, one day starts fighting for the newspaper because there's a censorship order by the government, and he takes on the British government. And then he tells my grandfather कि तुमने अपनी मुसीबत मेरे गले में डाल दी है, because he got so embroiled in it that he wouldn't stop fighting it. So it's just about the right kind of defiance, which is, it's a book from the past, but it's a book for the times.
While researching Pratap's century-long journey from 1919, so it's closed in 2007, it just closed in 2017. What was the most surprising or any emotional discovery you and your father, Mr. Mohan, came across?
I think the emotional chapter for us, there are two. One I already knew about was the day Bhagat Singh was hanged, but it's a rare first-hand account of that hanging, and I would just like to read a few pages from it. But the other one is about whether the fact that Gandhi, who we respect enormously, did he do enough to save the three young men? And after a research there are a lot of historians that we've spoken to. Some of them say that it was not Gandhi's battle to fight. But having said that, we came to the conclusion that Gandhi could have done much more to save the three young men, and he didn't. So that kind of rattled us while writing, and our own conclusion rattled us because that respect is immense. He remains who he is, but somewhere down the line, the irony of it that a man who stood for non-violence allowed such a violent act of hanging to go ahead. I think that kind of shook us, and if I may,
Yeah, sure, please.
I'd like to just read a few lines from the day Bhagat Singh was hanged. So this is one of those rare first-hand accounts, and this is my grandfather's voice. So we thought that the hanging would be on the morning of 24th March, but on 23rd March at about 2 p.m., the prison barber came running to us with tears in his eyes and in a quivering voice said, "Sab kuch khatam ho gaya, everything is over." The Sagar is saying that they would probably be hanged today itself. He has conveyed Vande Mataram to the two of you. Bringing his emotions under control, Virendra, that's my grandfather, requested Barkat to go back to Bhagat Singh and ask him for a keepsake for the two young men. Half an hour later, the barber returned. In his hands were a black fountain pen and a comb. On the comb, Bhagat Singh had carved his name with a blunt instrument. Ehsaan Ilahi, the other freedom fighter, kept the pen and I the comb. Every evening at 7 p.m., Chief Warder Chattar Singh would lock us up after securing all other prisoners. That day, he came at 4 p.m. When we asked him why he had come 3 hours early, he became emotional and could not speak. After several minutes, he composed himself and said the end had come. The three would be hanged that evening at 7 p.m. There was nothing more that could be done to save them. Just before 7 p.m., Bhagat Singh, Shivaram Rajguru and Sukhdev Thapar were brought out and taken towards the hanging area. As they walked, they loudly shouted, "Inqilab Zindabad." Hearing it, the other accused in the conspiracy case responded. Soon the entire jail was reverberating with loud cries of "Inqilab Zindabad." We also joined them. It spread to even non-political prisoners. Then there was deadly silence. That night, no one ate in the central jail of Lahore and no one slept. Only the Chief Warder Chattar Singh could tell us about the hangings as he was present at the spot. We waited for him to come and at 7 in the morning he finally opened the locks. We asked him about how the young three revolutionaries had approached death. Singh could not speak and then he burst out crying. With tears streaming down his face, he said, "I am a government servant and I have seen many hangings, but I have never seen such bravery in facing the gallows before." When the revolutionary, that is Bhagat Singh, came out of his cell, Chattar Singh made a request. He said to him that there were only a few minutes left of his life that he should remember Vaheguru or pray to God. Hearing this, Bhagat Singh laughed, saying, "Sardarji, throughout my life, I have never remembered him. Looking at the atrocities against the poor and the downtrodden, I may even have reprimanded him sometimes. now with death standing right in front of me, if I remember him, he will say that this young man is both dishonest and a coward. But if I do not change my views about him, he would say that this young man was both honest and brave. Saying this, Bhagat Singh started his walk towards the gallows. And he was just 23.
All have to read the book. So with Pratap's closure in 2017, how do you envision carrying forward its defiant spirit? Are there any plans for a new project, perhaps in journalism or storytelling, to honor the family's legacy?
A lot of people ask my father and I, whether we would bring back the newspaper. I think it's a bit tricky to do it in where we are at the moment, but I say never, and since everything is moved digital, this is something that is in my mind, whether we can just start off and do a digital version of what was once an iconic newspaper read across undivided India. For the rest, the defiance continues. Ask my mom. My father's a columnist, I've been a columnist. I write and I host my show. And I speak because, the legacy is to speak up. I wouldn't know any other way. And I think we've done justice to that legacy through this book. Because this book also looks at how the media was in undivided India, what a big role the media played in India's independence struggle, to where the media is today in India. Spreading fake information. Legacy media, as we know it, is completely dead. And yes, we've questioned where knowledge comes from and where do you want your knowledge to come from. And hopefully we're still a handful of us doing what a lot more people will come, but hopefully the tribe will keep growing,
I agree with you, Jyotsna. So we have talked about her latest book, Pratap, a defiant newspaper. But before that also she has written one more book which is called Stone, Shamed and Depressed. So how that book happened to you? Because I believe it's a very Gen X kind of book and Pratap is quite different.
I always say that we don't take what happens around our children as seriously as we should. We dismiss it as child's play, we dismiss their mental health as, it's a very Indian way of solving things, go outside and play. Any issue, go outside and play, just forget about it. What has also changed is social media in the mix. And so this book, when I started writing again, I was noticing that there's a lot of stuff that's happening around children that no one is speaking about. Frankly, it was a sitter. I was shocked nobody had written about it. It actually is an investigation into the lives of India's teens, but it could be said globally anywhere at this point. When I started writing it, I thought, I was tackling middle school onwards children, but when I finished writing it, I was speaking about the challenges of 8-year-old, 9-year-old children who are, gaming, who are on social media, who are playing Fortnite, the dangers on Roblox. So many nations in the GCC have now, banned Roblox. And I said this 5 years ago, watch what your children are playing. So it was not a parenting book, it was an investigation. And, the easy part was that actually it started with just one child, my own, who was bullied in school. And we were here in Abu Dhabi, and when we went back for 3 years and she joined school, she immediately got here. She plays badminton. And she was immediately into the school team. She's a petite child, and the girls who've been there for years, one fine day picked her up and just flung her against the wall. And so it kept me thinking, the bullying has also changed. It's not what bullying thinks, bullying as. Girl-on-girl bullying is a very, very scary, nobody speaks about it. So I started from there, and it was literally a friend's son that I started speaking to, and he said, I'll put you through to children. And it was Chinese whisper. The amount of children who opened up to me saying, thank you for writing this book, because, when we go up to our parents and say we have a problem, nobody takes us seriously. So the attempt of this book, it was an investigation. The attempt of this book was just to show you that there's bullying, there's mental health issues, there's gaming, there is social media is here to stay. The conduit will remain the smartphone. And 5 years ago I wrote this book, and what I can now say is that we cannot turn around and say this is not happening and that we cannot give our child a phone. We will have to give our child a phone at some point. We will have to allow that child a smartphone at a given, social media at a given point. The only difference is how long can you prolong it? Because the later you give it, the more mature they are to handle the challenges that come out. And the Indian parents also, I think, we need to step out of our own bubble. We are still treating it as a toy. There's a pushback in the UK, there's a pushback in European nations. Australia has banned social media. I don't think bans are the answer though. But we have to understand that parenting has also changed. The goalposts have changed. So, this book, when it started 5 years ago, it was about tweens and teens, but I can just tell you that the challenges have now moved on to 20-year-olds. I'm actually debating if I should write one on that next.
Yeah. I think you should write down another book on it, because in 5 years a lot of things have changed in media.
It's not a parenting book,
Yeah.
I can just say that it's a mirror to what the challenges are, because they are going to be on social media. You can't take it away. They are going to game. You can't take that away. There are challenges. How can you help them navigate is up to you. And so it's just to show you what is going on, and what you take from it is, parenting is individual and parenting is relative.
Definitely. And why the name Stoned, Shamed and Depressed?
I think it's self-explanatory. Stoned is about a generation that is, for whom, at least in India, in certain parts of in many metro cities and filtering down to tier 2, where drugs is easy consumption. Vaping is another epidemic, and depression is real if you speak to counselors. So it's stoned, shamed. It's also looked at body shaming, where I've spoken to children who try to self-harm themselves. I think that book was tougher for me to write, because when you're speaking to children who tell you that I tried to kill myself because I felt that I was not worth it, that I got 99 and I've always been getting 100, and my parents would be upset. So you understand where these children are coming from, because we've also, as a society, as an Indian society, with so many expectations that children sometimes find it very difficult to stay within those boundaries. And so it was very hard for me to hear children saying that I tried to kill myself. It was that easy. And so that's where it was my editor's choice of words though. But I think it was self-explanatory.
Yes. Definitely it is. So, Jyotsna, in today's world, AI has taken over almost all forms of writing. You have taken so much pain into writing these books, from research work to compiling the book, writing, editing. On the other hand, if I want to write a book, I would just give 20 words to the AI and it's going to give me a 200-page description. So, how do you see the future of authors and writers in this context?
My husband says, "What are you doing? Thinking so much. Just put those words into ChatGPT." And I keep telling him I will not do it. And he tells my children, "Don't bother, just go into ChatGPT." So that it's everywhere. I mean, AI is here to stay, and it's only going to get more advanced. So just I can only say that no, I'm not going to do it. I choose to. I feel like, at least in the creativity field, there's always something special that a writer can bring to the table that no technology can. Whether people will be reading those books in the world of AI is the other thing. It's a mixed bag. A lot of people say nobody is reading, the younger generation isn't reading, where the younger generation is consuming all their news on social media. So that is the reality. But I've been traveling quite a bit for this book, so it's a mixed bag. Certain parts, there are a lot of young people who are in the bookstores. I'm always hopeful they'll come back. I'm also hopeful that if somebody uses AI to write a book, is called out for it.
It has no emotions. Yeah?
Absolutely none. People may not agree with me, but people will try. For sure, people will try. I'm sure, people even writing their college essays, admission essays from AI and stuff. I'm going to be old school. I'm an old school journalist and I'll continue being an old school writer.
Yes, right. And the last question, Jyotsna. What advice would you give to the aspiring writers who are looking through a transition from journalism or other careers to book writing?
Let it be your sidekick. You have to have something else. Sure, क्या कर सकते हो? Otherwise, it's not easy to be a writer in even the literary world. We're seeing such a split globally across, in every sphere, whether it's politics, it's ideology. Even the literary field has not been spared of it, And then there is the other thing that's in the mix, the world of influencers. So if you're an influencer with a million followers, you're going to get a book deal like this today. Because publishing houses are only, to be fair to them, they need to sell. And influencers, they're getting ghostwritten books. But an influencer with 1 million followers is selling like this versus authentic, old school writers who are still struggling, people like me, going to say, please, here's my story, you may like it, you may not. But that's the reality, and that's what we are up against. So we are up against many things. I sincerely think if you can afford to write it, then please, put your heart and soul into it. If you're not, write it at night.
Thank you so much, Jyotsna. Thank you so much.
Anybody would like to have a question?
This is more out of curiosity. The newspaper was in Urdu, right, Pratap? But the cover is it doesn't have anything in Urdu. I was very intrigued to see that. So.
Cover is actually the black and white portion here is from the newspaper. The newspaper the day after the bomb blast. So this is the headline of the bomb blast and the 2 people killed. Although I did, to be fair to us, I did argue with the publisher saying put the Pratap, the Urdu part as well. You can only go that far with them, but it's inside. There are many pictures inside.
So much of history. The Pratap newspaper covered key parts of history and the struggle, for freedom, etc. So much of history is men writing about men. So can you just talk through what did the newspaper do to preserve and promote the female voice? And what have you done in your career to bring that to the fore and moving away from historically how we understand history to be?
Or anybody in our family from being a journalist. It's just a coincidence that I happen to be the first woman journalist, to do it. I think it's, and the person who encouraged me the most was my grandfather. So I owe it to him that his knowledge, his defiance, possibly, I've taken whatever I could out of him to bring out that story to the best of our ability. But, people also ask us that you've written this story about your family. Also, as journalists, how do you step back? So when you're writing about history, where does journalism come in and where does personal preference come in? There was one chapter I had to rewrite, I'll be honest, because my father said, take it back. We're not writing, we have to be unemotional at certain levels to even narrate history and to, bring it out. And I think it's so important at this juncture to preserve history. Like I said, I hope that more and more people who have accounts like this bring it out, because this is the time where history globally is being tweaked, being changed. Textbooks are, there's a different narrative that is coming out, and especially in India. The children who are in school today will have no idea about whether they are reading propaganda or they are reading history. So for us, I think it is, if you have a story, it is so important to preserve it and to bring it out, because I think we are doing I think there's a favor in this for the future of our generations. Because there are a lot of children. If you go back to India, the narrative, especially in the north, it's a very different narrative. And the children are internalizing what they listen to at home. And at home, they're being told that the history that we have grown up hearing is actually not the true history. So there is a push, even, as I said, even in the literary circles. I've been speaking to a lot of bookshops through my travels in India. And they say, we've been given orders to promote certain kinds of books. So preserving history is good, history is bad. To say that the Mughals were bad doesn't take away from the fact that Mughals were part of our history. History is everything. That is what makes it history. At the moment, India is going through the motions of saying history should be only one particular kind. And unfortunately, then that takes away from our learning and takes away from the younger generation's learning.
My question would be, like, as you said, that Pratap was a fearless, journalism. So I would like to know that how would you like to compare with today's media landscape, that time to this time?
My father always says that if we were still a newspaper, we would definitely have been shut down by the government. It's very unfortunate. We don't have legacy media in India at the moment. NDTV that I worked with for about 15 years, that I was very proud of, belonging to that golden era of journalism, does not exist anymore. So a lot of people, when they say, "Oh God, what's happened to NDTV?" I say, but this is not NDTV. You have to understand, this is NDTV 2.0. That era is over. There is no accountability in the media today, barring a handful of newspapers. There is the Hindu in the south, there is Tribune in the north, there's Indian Express, and there's the Telegraph. There are the four. There are also hidden trials even amongst them. The news that you watch on television every evening, watch it with a pinch of salt, if you must watch it. Because you will see it, Shah Rukh Khan, take for instance Shah Rukh Khan, his son, when Aryan Khan, during the arrest, he was character assassinated by the media. They called him all kinds of names. He was sent to jail at a time when COVID was at its peak in India. I mean, it was horrible. He was exonerated, no charges against him. Not one channel ever apologized to what they did to that young man. Not one channel. And this is what they did to this other actress, Riya Chakrabarti, the same thing, right? I mean, because there were elections, this poor little thing, she went to jail for again a month during COVID. Garrick called her all kinds of names, gold digger, nothing. Prime time, 9 p.m. news. So this is what news is. There are a handful of good people still trying to do journalism on YouTube. But there are all kinds of attempts to shut that down as well. It is going to keep coming. I think it's tough. It's also tough because we've always grown up hearing that, journalism is meant to give both sides of the story. But I say, when the goalposts shift, is it fair to say both sides of the story, or are you going to or is it your duty to bring out what is always being pushed down? I think we have to think about whether we can still talk about neutrality in journalism, or whether our job is elsewhere. Our job is to speak about the marginalized. Our job is about those whose voice is not being heard. And I think that's where we are. I mean, evening after evening, you are only going to hear one side of the story. Rahul Gandhi could be out. He is canvassing. There are elections coming out. But there's nothing in the TV. So you think nothing is happening. You hear about incidents, but because those incidents are not reported, a vast variety of people who are hooked to still the television news think that doesn't exist. And that is the damage that is being done to our psyche.
They haven't apologized to Pranay Roy either?
At all. He was arrested. I mean, he was not allowed to fly out. This is when, he was at the airport and he was told, the file is closed.
Thank you.
On behalf of Prabha Ketan Foundation, I, Kajall Sagar, Ehsaas Woman of Dubai, extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest of the evening, Jyotsna Mohan, and to our chronologist, Madiha Saidi for guiding us through such an enriching and insightful dialogues. A special note to a thank you to our venue partner Anantara Downtown Hotel Dubai and our special guest Mr. Khalid Dubai Tourism for their generous support in making this evening seamless and memorable. A very special thank you to Mr. Roshan Agrawal. Without his support, this event won't be possible. And a special thank you to Mr. Heyman, Mr. Mansoor, and Ms. Dipanjali of the Anantara staff. At the foundation, we are deeply committed to fostering cross-culture, understanding and appreciation of India's diverse and vibrant heritage. In the spirit, we are delighted to facilitate our guests with Kathputli string puppets from Western India. Kathputli, the traditional string puppet of Rajasthan, is a vibrant symbol of India's storytelling heritage, crafted by skilled artisans using wood, clothes, and string. These puppets are adorned in a bright Rajasthani fabrics and painted with expensive features that bring characters to life. Rooted in the nomadic communities of Rajasthan and spreading across neighboring Gujarat, Kathputli combines theatre, music, and craftsmanship. Each performance keeps alive a timeless tradition, preserving the culture, memory, and imaginative spirit of India. Now, may I now request to our distinction guest, Mr. Jamil Saidi, kindly facilitate our author, Ms. Jyotsna Mohan. I'm so sorry. Each attendee will also receive a card detailing and the significance of this momentum, a complimentary copy of the book from the Prabha Ketan Foundation. Thank you once again. Have a pleasant evening, everyone.